Today is July 17, and we are here for live conversation with a good human. Welcome to the Three Things with Dr. B. At the Moo Dojo, we believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we are ultimately intimately connected to one another, sometimes in ways we cannot fully explain. Therefore, as we are having a conversation about the three things today, we must recognize that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And particularly, we cannot anticipate the type of, might I say, positive impact we might have on someone else. And no, you don't need to be famous or make millions of dollars or be a New York best-selling author to actually make a difference to others. That's why we're here today. We're going to talk about serendipity, purpose, and humanity. My guest is Anisha. Anisha Jennings is a systems administrator turned entrepreneur who knows firsthand what it means to rebuild your life from scratch. After moving from India to the United States 10 years ago for her second master's degree, what started as a straightforward educational journey became a complete fresh start in New Jersey. Today, Anisha balances her full-time tech career with running Jennings Tech Corner, where she creates websites that help health and wellness entrepreneurs and Christian coaches tell their stories and build authentic brands. As the host of her own podcast, Your American Dream with Anisha, she provides a platform for immigrant women and women of color entrepreneurs to share their own stories. Anisha's approach is deeply rooted with empathy and real life experience. She walked the path of starting over, and she understands the challenges her clients face. When she's not helping others succeed online or behind the microphone, you'll find her organizing or exploring new adventures with her husband and her son. A Jesus-loving mama at heart, Anisha believes in using her gifts to lift others up and help them write their own success stories. Welcome, Anisha, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. B. It's such an honor to be here.
It's great to have you. And we're going to start diving quickly, directly into thing number one, serendipity. And what that means is, what are all the things that you have done in your life, the people you have met, the key events in your life that have led you to be here today, to live in New Jersey, to be even in front of me in this podcast today?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. Before I answer that, I think we're not video live yet. It's still the
We're
banner, so
still,
maybe we want to, yes, because my family
this
is
is so weird.
letting me know.
I have taken the banner out a while back. No, I
I
think we're
think we're
good
all
now.
set.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. That was a lovely introduction, and it's such an honor to be here. I think I would go back to the time, like way back in India. I'm really grateful for my parents because I don't think I would be here today if it was not for them. And I'm very grateful that they raised me with the goals and ambitions they had. Like at that time, it did not make sense. But now, as a parent, I'm like, how did you guys do this? Because you were so disciplined. My dad had goals, my mom was the executor. It's just so, they worked as like a team. And I'm so glad that, they raised me in the faith and that has kept me going. And um, I feel like I'm a strong believer. So I've seen and felt God place people in my life at different times, divine appointments, divine connections that has led me to where I am today. So I'm really thankful that they had the vision. And growing up, I remember I've always been a very motivated kid, and I wanted to keep going. I've never really found myself in a place where I was comparing myself to someone else. It was more like I wanted to do better. I wanted to do better for myself. And I feel like somewhere I always had that I don't want to disappoint my parents. I want to make them happy. And, you know, we all have those. So it was just like go, go, go all the time. And, but I remember having a very wonderful childhood. And even though now when I talk to my parents and they tell me, it was such a struggle, or
Mm.
it was hard, or we just got one or two pairs of clothes a year, we didn't feel anything. Like, they didn't make us feel that they were struggling.
Mm.
We just enjoyed our childhood and we had a great time. So as life went on, I know I had a lot of health challenges, so that kind of slowed me down. But when I moved here to US, I moved at the age of 28. I don't know what was in me at that time that I just wanted to get up and move.
Was
And
it an old dream of yours to come to the US?
no, not at all. US was never on the radar for me. My goal was to stay at home as long as I can, get married to whoever my parents chose for me, and live very close to my parents so I could visit them often, I could take care of them, and we could just be there together as a family. So US was never on the radar for me.
Wow. So
Um,
what happened? Like, so you
I
came for
don't
your master's. You had a second master's or third master's
Yes,
degree.
my second
Yeah.
master. So after I graduated my undergrad, I started working at an engineering college. I was a teaching assistant, and then I moved up. I became a lecturer, and then an assistant professor. And then I did my first master's part time because I knew I wanted to be in the teaching profession. My mom is a home tutor. My mom's brother is an engineering professor. So teaching was sort of in the blood, and I remember liking it. And I remember as a child, I used to have my dolls line up on the bed, and I would teach them my whatever I learned in school. I would teach them, and I remember even hitting them with a ruler.
Oh my goodness.
so
Which was
so I
still
was like,
appropriate at the time, I guess. It was part of the
yes, it was
culture.
yeah, it was something that used to happen at the time, not anymore. But I remember wanting to be in the teaching profession. So I got into it, and then I got my master's because I did want to study further. I also remember my dad, for some reason, again, I don't think I ever saw marriage as something that, I aspired for, or I wanted, or it was a goal. For me, I just did not. I was not influenced by the marriages around me in a positive way that made me want a marriage,
Mm.
right? So I just wanted something else for life. Um, and then one day my dad was like, they're looking for matches because in India, that's how you get married. Your parents find a match for you. So I remember my dad mentioning, because when my parents got married, my mom was studying to be a lawyer, and then they ended up getting married. So her, education was kind of on hold. She couldn't
Mm.
do education, and she pretty much dedicated her life taking care of my brother and I. So I remember my dad saying, as long as she wants to study, we're not going to get her married. And that kind of stuck in my head. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So
Let's study all life long.
yes, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do my master's. So I started working on my master's part time, and it was a comfortable life that I had. The only challenge for me was, just go to work and balance my work and my part-time masters. Other than that, like, we had a maid at home who take care of laundry. My mom was always cooking. She's a great cook, so I didn't have to worry about cooking. I would help out here and there, but not to the extent that I was really making a difference at home. I was just at home.
It's a good
And
life. You'd spend your
yeah, it was
time
a good life.
learning and not having to do chores and
Absolutely. And, I didn't have to pay rent. And it was just like, it was sort of a savings. And when I said after 6 years and during when I was teaching, there was a point where I was a little saturated and I felt like this is not where I belong. There's
mm.
something more to this. I was challenging the system. I was challenging the things that were being said to me. I was challenging the methodology there. So it just didn't feel that I was in the right place. It just didn't feel like a noble profession anymore. And I felt like I needed to get out. Um, so at that time, I told my parents, hey, I just want to go to the US. And they were like, why now? Why are you leaving this life behind? Anybody would want to be in your position right now. You have a good job, you can stay at home, you get fresh food every day. Why do you want to leave all this? And I didn't have really an answer. All I knew is I had to go. So now,
So how did you come up with the US versus any other country? Why the
Um,
US?
because my brother was already in the US, so I knew a little bit about it. And I don't think I really explored any other countries. I know I had a lot of students go to Germany, but for some reason it was not very appealing to me. At that time, it was like, I still don't know why I still don't know why I'm here, but
Well, I mean,
that's a
the
different.
fact that your brother was already here could make a difference in terms of feeling safe that you have someone close
Yeah,
by.
yeah.
But so that leads to another question, which is why did your brother choose to go to the US?
He didn't either. He wanted to be home too, but his job brought him here. He was just so good at
Okay.
what he did that every time he got a promotion, they wanted to send him to the US because, on the H-1 visa, and then they wanted him to be offshore and contribute here. And he just didn't want to leave home. So he actually quit his job a couple times just so he could avoid coming to the US. But eventually, he had to give in, and he actually went to Switzerland for 6 months and he really enjoyed it. And then he came back, and then they sent him to US, like Texas. So he's been here since. And now once you're here, then you build your life. Then it's like, it's just you stay. So
So you
uh,
arrive in the US. Where do you land the first time around?
so I landed in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So Boston Airport. And I remember it was so emotional, me even leaving the country, because my mom was not happy. She was like, why do you have to go now? You get married and go wherever you want. My dad was like, it was a huge financial burden, because my dad was, didn't you think about this before I could retire? Now I'm retired and now you want to go. How do I support you? So it was very, very a difficult situation. So till I left, I didn't even know I'm going to leave. Once I got on the plane and I landed, and I still remember the pilot. I hope I can meet that pilot at some point in my life. But he said, for those of you who are coming to Boston the first time, welcome. He said, for those of you who are landing here, welcome home. And that like made me so emotional. I was like crying, and I was like, okay,
Wow.
it's going to be home for me soon. And I had no idea what I was going to experience the next few years. Now, in hindsight, it's like God literally plucked me out of India, put me here, and has made me have these experiences for a reason, for a purpose. I don't know what it is, but just saying yes and coming here. Obviously, I had to meet my husband here, but it's just been, that is my serendipity story.
But I think your example of just the pilot is interesting
Yes,
because
yes,
pilots are going to fly planes every day, and
yes,
you can tell when a pilot in command says a message to the travelers in a different way. You can tell
yes,
when they have a different intention. And
yes.
so sometimes just like that one sentence made a difference for you.
It did.
And that's what we mean by serendipity. We don't know the impact we have on people.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Well,
amazing.
yes, because every time now I land in Boston, or after that, every time I've been to Boston, I still think of him. I should probably, like, try and see if I can find him. But it was just that moment with, all the fear that I came with, all the, I came with two or three suitcases at that time, and packed up my life, and basically was starting afresh as a student. Not even like I had a job or something. I had no idea what I was going to do.
So, did you have an intention of staying in the country at that time,
No.
or you were like, I'm just going there and we'll see what happens?
Yes, that was the intention. Like, I'm just going to go there, I'm going to get my master's, and I'm getting back. Because by then I had seen the visa issues, and, my brother, the stress that you go through when you're on H1 visa,
Mm-hmm.
or you're trying to apply for, even to get the H1 visa, the lottery system, applying for it. I was like, I'm all set. I don't think I want to get into that. I'm just going to get my master's and go home and start again.
Yeah.
Uh, as in, basically, now I have like a degree from another country, so that puts me like, a couple levels higher, and now I can start my job with like a promotion or something. But that was the idea initially. So
So you said that was a second master. So your first master was in education. What was the second one?
yes, so my first master's was in electronics and communication, and my second master's was in computer engineering.
Okay, great. And so, where did you start? Like, did you live in Boston for a while? Where did you?
So yeah, so I came to University of Massachusetts Lowell, And I got an apartment off campus that I hadn't even seen before I got here. And remember, I'm 28 at the time, never lived with roommates. So now I have to live, I was living with four other
Oh my.
ladies in like a three-bedroom apartment with one bathroom. And there was no heating in that apartment. Like, I don't know if it was, what that apartment was with regard to like code, and but there was no heating. So we basically used space heaters everywhere.
Mm.
So that was an experience. Um, but eventually it's like, okay, I made the choice. I'm here. I can't look back. I just got to keep going. Because my dad also mentioned when I left, you're leaving, you're going all the way there all by yourself. Remember, there's no turning back. So I was like, yeah, I can't really, go back at this point. I got to keep going. I got to keep swimming. So it was just that, you know, keep going. And few months into the country, initially you're like, ah, this is freedom, this is great. Few months later, it's like, oh, I miss my family. I'm all
Mm.
alone by myself. I don't see people. I can't talk to people. I can't just stop by and say hello. Whereas growing up, or even now in my house, there's always somebody stopping by. There's always, neighbors talking. You're always exchanging food, and there's always community, like
So
very
you were
close.
missing that aspect.
I was definitely missing that aspect.
And
So I started.
how did you even during your masters were you able to recreate something like that? Like how did you connect with people
Yes.
and get
So
get your own crowd?
basically my faith. So I started looking for churches
Uh-huh.
because I was like, where do I start here? I am at a point where nobody wants to. So my classmates were all young, right? They had just finished their undergrad and they came there for the master. So they're like 21, 22. They want to party,
Um,
want to go out, they want to hang out, and I'm like, I'm done, I want to go to bed. Right, like that was me. I just wanted to be home and do my homework, go to bed, or like I would talk to my parents basically. But I know that I would call my parents every single day. I would be on the phone with them. They would go about doing their chores, I would be here, so it still felt like I was connected to them. And eventually the moment I landed there, like within a couple of days, I started looking for a church. So on campus we had like this student community,
mhm.
and that's how I got introduced to this professor and his family, who sort of like took me in, and then they took me to church, and then I started going to church every single Sunday with them. They were very kind to pick me up, drop me off. They would take me for groceries. They would invite me over for lunch sometimes after
Mm.
church. So that kind of became my family. And then I started getting more involved with Bible studies. And that's how I started building my friend circle over there. So I sort of started with, the similar sort of upbringing with, just being.
How did you sustain yourself? Like were you working or did you have some savings or because you're studying at that point, you're not making income?
Yes. So the first to so I landed here August. By probably October, like, so I started looking for a job. The moment I came here, my parents had given me some money
Mm.
to sustain myself for one semester, and then they were like, after that you're on your own. What do you do? You're on your own. So I started looking for jobs, like constantly looking for jobs. And then I would go to each professor in the department and hand them my resume and talk to them and say, hey, if you have an availability as a TA RA, I'm happy to do it. And then I got a job at the bookstore on campus. So that's how I made my money.
Nice. That's
And
some way to meet people too at the bookstore.
yeah, it was like I just applied. And then again, it was like hard work because I hadn't done that kind of work before.
Hmm.
So it was just hard. And prior to that, I did work for Kumon. So because I had the teaching background,
Education, yes.
they let me volunteer at Kumon, and they used to pay me, cash, and that's how I bought my groceries. And sometimes I would be at a point where the person did not pay me. I didn't have money for food, and I remember
Wow.
I would just tell my parents would ask me, "What did you eat for dinner?" And I'm like, nothing really, or like rice and yogurt. And by the time I wake up in the morning, they would have sent me money. And they're like, we can't see you struggling. So like, they have always been very supportive and have helped me at every phase, even till today.
Mm.
They're very supportive in, making sure I'm not struggling. We're not struggling. But that's kind of how, I sort of kept going. And then after one semester, so I got here August 2015. Jan 2016, I got like a scholarship. So I got a TA position and RA position. So my 2.5 years was covered with a scholarship with full insurance. And so
Nice.
I was able to complete my education with not being, completely in student debt, because we were able to take the loan for just one semester and then pay it off. Again, the money to pay that off happened through a family member that, sold her house, and then she was like, "Hey, I have this money, just use it and then you can repay me later." So we ended up doing that, and we were able to, release my parents' house from the collateral. So yeah, God just works it out.
You found a way. So then what happened? Like you finished your masters.
Yes, I finished my math.
You've been going to church, being involved in Bible study and so on. Have you when did you meet your husband, and what happened there?
Yes, so 2018, I graduate in 2018 May, and I'm trying to find a job. I couldn't find a job because it was the time where during that year, people were not ready to sponsor H1 visa. So I
Mm.
would have interview after interview, and nobody was ready to sponsor. I was not able to land a job, and I had no idea why, like what was going on. Why was I not getting a job? Like knew I was qualified, but I was just not able to land a job. Eventually, through 2018, it was like, mid, almost like October, and I'm still not getting anything. So in September-ish, I was, exhausted my funds of like the RATA that I had saved up.
Mm.
So I was like, "Lord, I don't know what you want." So I went and spoke to our pastor, and I said, "Hey, do you have any jobs available around the church that I can help out with, that you can pay me in cash or help me with, pay my rent? I'm happy to do any work around the church." He said, "Give me your resume." So I sent him my resume, and he said, "Well, you've been teaching, you have teaching credentials. Why don't you teach my son?" And I said, "Okay." So he paid me to teach his 11-year-old, who was brilliant. He's brilliant. At the time, he was 11, but he was learning electrical engineering basic concepts from me.
Nice.
So they paid me to, teach him, and that's how I was able to pay my rent and survive. So so late 2018, I met my husband through the church, and we were just like, I said, "Hey, I got to go back. So I don't even know if this is going to work out. And this is going to be long distance.
Because you're
So
still thinking you're going to go back to India.
I'm going to go back to India." And then come January, I'm like, "Hey, I got to go back. I don't think this is going to work." So we're just like doing our own thing. And then February, no job. March, no job. April, I tell my mom, "I think, I'm coming back. I'm going to book my ticket." So I booked the ticket to go back to India for good, June 30th, 2019. And my parents would visit almost every year. So they were visiting my brother at the time in North Carolina, and my mom spoke to one of her school friend. Again, serendipity. My mom
Oh
spoke to
yeah.
her school friend, and she said they're just having a chat, and then she's like, "Oh, she was here, she did her masters, but now we're going back to India, because she's going back to India because she couldn't find a job." And she's like, "Why? What happened? Let me see, let me ask around." So she ended up asking the boss, and then they interviewed me. And she said, "Oh, he's gone to India for work. He'll be back after a week." And now it's like May. It's almost end of May. So there's not much time for me
There's
to
two
go. I
weeks
have like
left.
2 weeks left. And she's like, "Let me try, let me try." So he came back from and then they're like, "Oh, she needs a job. If she doesn't get a job, she's going back to India." They needed an IT person, and I needed a job. So they interviewed me at like noon, somewhere around noon, on 24th of June. 24th of June, 5 p.m., I had the offer letter. They had hired me. They created a
Wow.
position for me because they were like, "We need an IT person. The IT we have right now is part-time. So yeah, we'll hire you." So it went from me going back to India to me moving to New Jersey. So my life just turned around completely. And everybody's praying. Everybody's praying. here on Joe's family side, my family side, friends, people in the church, everybody's praying to see what's going to happen, right? Whether I'm going to stay or I'm going to go back.
And that's all
And
because your mom happened to be there. She had a friend who was local who talked
to
to
do,
her boss.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So that's my story.
That's amazing. And so what happened after that with you moved to New Jersey?
Yes. So I moved to New Jersey in July of 2019 and I started working. And then after a few months, I told my parents, hey, so, there's this guy, he's a believer, his parents are believers. So can you, like, talk to him and just have a chat? They were a little apprehensive initially. Then they're like, all right, whatever, we'll talk. So they spoke to his parents, and then we all had like a group call, his parents on call, me, and then him with his parents. So we had like a group chat, and they were fine after a couple days. So January 2020, we got engaged. And 2020 February, he got a job in New Jersey, and then COVID. So we got
Wow.
during COVID because it was like, okay, we don't know what's going on. So that's how we got married during COVID. And I was in the middle of my H1 process through my company. And then I said, well, this is my last chance to get the H1. So we're married. So we ended up applying for a green card. So my green card and my H1, it was like, at the same time. It was just an overlap. And then I ended up getting my green card before I got my H1. So that's what I keep telling Joe, like, if it was not for you, I would not be here in this country because I did not want to go through the H1 process. I did not want to go through
Right.
the visa process through employment. It's just stressful.
Yeah. So you interview a lot of women who have done a similar path, including
Yes.
myself, because I went on your podcast when we talked about me moving to the US. How much do you see that challenge? Like, what are the two most critical challenges that you see for these immigrant women coming into the United States? What are the challenges they face?
So I feel like understanding what kind of visa, it depends on how you're coming in. If you're coming in as a student, then you're coming in on an F1 visa. If you're coming in through a job, it depends on what kind of visa. So sometimes I feel like that in itself is a huge challenge,
Mm,
trying to figure out how to, do the right thing and stay in the country. And how can I make my dreams possible in this country with doing things the right way? So I think that's a huge challenge, number one.
mm-hmm.
Well, if you were like born here and then you moved and then you're coming back, if you're a citizen, that's, it has its own challenges. But I feel like visa and immigration is like a huge stress. Just trying, because you're putting so much effort in it. You're doing the paperwork. The paperwork is not easy. There's so much,
Right.
like, I submitted this much paperwork
Mm-hmm.
for my green card for the first
Did
time.
you pay a lawyer for it?
Yes, I did pay a lawyer. I paid a lawyer, I paid the fees, so I probably paid about 5 grand to
That's
get
crazy.
my, for the
Yeah,
process
but
and
it's
for
the amount
the,
of paperwork is crazy.
it's
Yeah.
the amount of paperwork, because it's like you want to make sure everything is right. You're giving them as much details as possible for them to know
Yeah.
that you are wanting to be a legal immigrant
Yeah.
here and you want to do the right thing. So I feel that's a huge, huge challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one I would say is the loneliness, because I feel like over here it's until you find your people, until you find your community, until you find your tribe, it's a very lonely place. Like, neighbors are not going to just chit chat with each other. Obviously, things are changing back in India too. But from where I am, people will stay out. Somebody's going for a walk, they'll say hello, or you still have that connection. You can still talk to people. You can just go out on the road. You can just go have like street food and things like that. But over here, it's very different. So I would say trying to do everything alone when you come here, because you don't know anybody. You could have language challenges. There are people who come in here and then learn English. So I feel like all that kind of challenge where you're like, okay, do I know the language? Do I not know the language? I look
Mm.
different. I have skin color. I'm all by myself. Like,
Mm.
how do I this work. So if you come in like, as a student, then you have your student body. You come in here for a job, then you have your job supporting you. If you come in through, you married someone and you come in, then you have your husband. But you still don't have your own friends. You still don't have your own family. So I think that would
Yeah,
be
so
the
you,
second.
you found your community through church, and
Yes.
what would you? So when I came to, I can relate to what you're saying, because when I came to the U.S., that loneliness definitely was there, particularly in New Jersey. I wouldn't say, I'm not sure why that would be the case in Boston, but I can understand it. In New Jersey, definitely, because it's a state of families more than single people. I didn't have the issue with the visa because I did it through the corporate world, so that was taken
Mm,
care of much
yes.
nicer. Um, but what would you recommend telling someone who doesn't have church, for example? How do you find your people? How what do you do to find that?
I would say, like, get out more and try to connect in the local, wherever you are. You may have like a chamber. You may have like volunteering opportunities. You may have like a soup kitchen, or you may have
Mm,
a library. The library is a great place too. The library is a great place to connect with people because people are coming there with kids, or if you have kids, yes, that's a great place to
yeah,
find people.
yeah, definitely.
Um, but I would say, like, trying to find opportunities locally wherever you are. Like, say you are living in a townhouse or an apartment, if they have any activities, so participation is
Right.
key, because the more you put yourself out there, that's when people will respond to it.
And
Because if you're sitting
yeah,
by yourself, nobody will know you're lonely, nobody will know you even exist. And that's the whole purpose of coming out and, like, talking and then sharing your story, because everybody has a unique story and everybody has a purpose. And it's not a mistake where you are when you are.
yeah, and going for the things you like, for example, and trying to find groups like we have Meetup now, right? We
Yeah,
have, we have. I mean, I'm not sure these existed back then when you arrived in 2015.
they did have some of those local meetups, but for
Okay,
some reason it was either the timing or for some reason or the other, it just didn't work out for me. And most of the activities that they were on either needed you to travel there, like have a car. I didn't have a car. I still don't own a car. My husband has a car, but I don't still own a car 10 years
wow.
in the US.
But
So
you have a driver's license?
I do have a driver's
Okay.
license. Yes. I drive. I just don't own a car.
Yeah. So this segues nicely into purpose. So once you're in New Jersey, you work for this company, but now you
Yes.
don't work for a company. So how did you transition? So there's a lot of things happening at that moment,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
you you get married,
Yes.
COVID hits.
Yes.
So there's a
Survive
lot of
COVID together.
turmoil out there. You just moved to New Jersey. What happened?
So I still work with the company. I still have my full time job that I did, because I really, it was a blessing. It's because of that job I'm still in the U.S. My the owner was thoughtful and said, okay, yes, we need someone. You need a job. So
That's
he
great.
created that opportunity for me. It was just at a place where, and then yeah, COVID, so we survived COVID together. We would play games, we would play, like, board games, and yeah, that's how we survived it. We had a good time, actually, isolating at home, because we were just newly married. We were trying to learn about each other, so playing games was like our big thing, and we would binge watch shows. And then we started looking for a house, because my parents, when they visit, they stay with us for a couple months, and we only had like one bedroom and one bathroom. So we started looking for like at least two bedrooms. And it so happened, because we decided not to have a big wedding, we just did a small COVID wedding, that we were able to save money. And
Uh-huh.
Joe's dad gave us a gift to as down payment to purchase a house. So we
That's
had that.
huge. Wow.
So we started looking for houses, and then again, this was something that we had given up on. We were not finding the right house, and then this house was like, okay, we'll see this house and we'll see what it does. So we ended up seeing, we really loved it. We put in the offer, all of it, and then they were like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. You may not get the house. We're like, whatever. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. So then I write a note At that time, I think it was allowed, but now they don't let you do it. But I wrote a letter to the owners, not knowing at that time that they were Indians too. But I wrote a letter to
Oh,
the owners
that's
saying,
amazing.
we really loved your house. We really like your kitchen. We love how you've maintained your plants. And it's a very cozy environment. Our church is 5 minutes down the road from this house. It's like the perfect place for us to start our family and live here. And when my parents visit, my mom will have a great time cooking in this kitchen. So, I just wanted to say that this makes us a good fit
You
for
lay out
this
the
house.
dream. You
Yes.
lay out the dream and sensorized it. Like you can smell the cooking from the kitchen.
Yeah, so I wrote the letter, and I feel like that was what gave us the house, because they then had an open house and their children were telling them, oh, you're rushing to sell this house. You should probably, look at more buyers before you sell it to these people. And we ended up getting the house at the end. So
Nice.
it was
Nice.
so 2021 we had the house, 22 we had our baby, and then 24 I was like, it's been a little while me being in my job, and I felt like I just needed something more. I felt stuck,
Mm.
and I felt like I just need more mental stimulation, and I need to contribute more um, to community basically. So I joined a program, and that's how I started my business. And I started Jennings Tech Corner because I'm a tech person. I've been tech for so long. So, and I did, like, website work a little bit, and I really loved it. So I started building websites. And then because of my own journey with COVID and fighting long haul COVID fatigue, researching so much about vitamins and, good food and healthy eating, and then also working on my mental wellness. Um, After I dealt with postpartum depression,
Mm.
I just felt it's so important to be proactive about your physical and mental health. And we don't give as much credit to mental health because we can't see it, right? We just feel it,
Mm.
but we can't see it. Like, we don't know what depression looks like. It's different for everybody. So you can't just say, hey, how you doing? And that person may say, yes, I'm doing great, but who knows what they're feeling on the inside, right? So
That's
we
right.
don't really very few people are really proactive about their mental health. So I started exploring that, and that's when I felt like that's my calling, is to build websites for people, for entrepreneurs in this space, so they can basically focus on their calling. So that's how I started the business. And then my mentor said, you have to um, visibility, you have to show up more, and you have to talk more about yourself. Sorry. So I said, well, I'm not a big Instagram, Facebook person, and I'm not comfortable being in front of the camera. So I don't know what I should be doing here. And she's like, maybe start a podcast, just you talk into the camera. I was like, all right. So I started talking into the camera. Joe has taken so many shots, and we're like, no, that's not good. This is not good. And we recorded so many before I started talking about myself. And I interviewed my mom, my dad, I interviewed Joe. And then I'm like, well, I can't be talking about myself. This is boring. I need to do something else. So I started reaching out to other immigrant women entrepreneurs and women of color. And ever since, each of them has either introduced me to other women of color or immigrant women who are exceptional. Like, I've had the honor of interviewing about 45, 46 women thus far.
Wow.
And it's just so inspirational to listen to their story. And it gives you encouragement as you move through the journey, because being an entrepreneur is a very lonely journey. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody understands why you're sitting in front of the camera recording something, why you're, like, walking around with your phone taking pictures. And the things that you do, not everybody gets it, right? So to know that you're not alone in this journey, and they have been through this journey as well, I just feel like it's very, very I'm so honored that they said yes and they agreed to be on the show and share their story. So we're celebrating 50 episodes this month.
That's amazing. And you're gonna celebrate your first year, your first full
First year,
year.
yeah. First
So
full year with 50
you
episodes.
basically broadcast one podcast a week. That
Yes,
is
yes,
huge. That is really
that.
huge. I put your logo in the screen for people to look at it. So there's the two logos. There's Jennings Tech and American Dream Podcast. I would strongly recommend you look for Anisha and sign up for her podcast. You'll find
Thank you.
me somewhere in there as
Yes,
well.
yes,
Um,
indeed.
so it's almost been a year, and you've interviewed a lot of women.
Yes.
What are your like? What are your three favorite memories from these podcasts so far?
Um, it's that's a very tough question because
Okay.
each of my guests is so unique, and but the one person that does stand out, who I cracked up a lot, and we just had a blast just laughing through the whole episode, is Diana Sanchez. She she's amazing. We just spoke, and she's just so full of life and just sharing her story. It was amazing. And then I would say, just each one of them, they bring such unique gifts to the table that they're trying to share, that they're trying to um, just pass on, building their own legacies, right,
Yeah.
and make a difference in the community.
Yeah,
I
and
think
we
that's
talked
strong.
about some of the challenges you may encounter when you immigrate to the United States.
Yes.
All these women have their own stories, of course. But
Yes.
did you see? Have you observed any trend or any insight that comes back, like that is very common to most of them? Like, have you seen some common features, basically?
Yes, common themes, I would say yes. Immigration, yes, definitely. People have had their own struggles. Either they have moved here because of love. They married someone, they met someone in like a US person in a different country while they were visiting. They got married, they moved here, or someone was already here, they got married, and then they moved here. So people have moved for love.
Mm-hmm.
People have moved for career change.
Mm-hmm.
People have moved just because, you know,
Like you, just
like me.
because.
Like me. So immigration has definitely been a challenge for them as well, till they got to the place where they knew what to do. Oh, there was another person who told me about, she's not an immigrant, but she's a daughter of an immigrant, and she was telling me about her father, who she couldn't he was sick, and she couldn't bring him to the country
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't have his papers. And so he passed away in their home country, and she brought him to the US, but his ashes. So that's
Wow.
a very touching story, and she shares that a lot, just to tell people to get your paperwork together and do it the right way. Apply for whatever, like, you have avenues. If it's H1, apply for it. uh, and then I've had an episode where I've she's a lawyer, and she talks about how you can find different ways to be legal in the country, apply for your green card, or apply for a different kind of visa. But it's mostly skill based. You have to show up, you have to, like, innovation and
Mm-hmm.
research. But there are ways, and there's opportunities. You just got to make sure you do it the right way, apply for the paperwork. Don't sit around, basically. Just
Right.
become legal.
And believe in yourself. Like, go
Believe
for
in
it. Like, do
yourself.
the
Yes,
steps. Do the work. Yeah.
absolutely. So that's another theme, is resilience, grit, and not giving up. No matter what challenges they each of them faced, they did not give up. They turned all the challenges into opportunities, and basically
Mm. What a
now
beautiful
they are
lesson.
where they are.
That's really cool. So going back to, you have your job, you have Jennings Tech, and you help wellness entrepreneurs, mental health, and then you have the American Dream podcast, and that's more focused on female immigrants, so women of color entrepreneurs. So it's a similar niche, but not
Yes.
necessarily exactly the same niche. So
Yes.
my question back to you: we're talking about purpose now. What's your purpose? Like, what is your vocation as Anisha in the world?
So, I love using, like, I've always been good at troubleshooting. And I know my parents will tell you that, I'm a very short tempered person. I don't have patience. But when it comes to my work, I am a very patient person. I believe in quality, and, I'm always wanting to do the best in whatever I do. So I have a lot of patience with, tech, and not a lot of people have that. I love troubleshooting. Not a lot of people love that. So I want to use my skills with the degrees that I've learned and my experience to help people build their businesses. And that's the whole purpose of my Jennings Tech Corner, building websites. The other part through my podcast, what I'm very, very passionate about is being able to inspire our younger generation or even younger generation in the US with tools and advice that we wish we knew when we were starting off,
Mm,
and even for the our younger generation back in our home country to dream big and to know that you can make it. If we I moved here, I'm, making it work. You can do it too. So to just inspire them to, know that they're not alone. We have a community. If they have any questions or they have any fears, any objections, we're here to help them. And if they have, basically giving them the advice we wish we had when we were moving here, because you see the movies, right? You see things in movies or you hear it from people, but actually living the life here is very much different. And not everybody will talk about it. Like
mm.
people will tell you how rosy it is to be in the US and how, oh, you're in the US, you're living the American dream. But how much work goes into the American dream?
Sometimes you need the reality check a little bit, the sanity check. Yeah.
Exactly. Not everybody talks about it. So that's the whole purpose of my podcast, is to be like raw and real and
Mm.
tell you that you're not alone. If you're dealing with something, you're not alone. Reach out and, you have help.
That's great. Dreaming big and inspiring younger individuals to do the steps and live their dream. And
Yes.
do you usually focus on people who are already here, or do you also help people who want to be here and do not know where to start?
So I basically focus on people who are already here, in the sense that I'm trying to share their stories of how they came here.
Yeah.
So to help that story influence people who want to move here. So if somebody wants to know, what's the process, what's the best steps, I'm happy to help them with that. But I
Mm,
do not do any kind of visa consultation or what visa you
right.
need. I'm by no means a lawyer. So I don't give those kind of suggestions, but life experiences. I'm happy to share life experiences, and that's what most of my guests share, is their life experiences, how they came in, what they did, what were the alternatives they found if they were stuck in some position. So that's kind of the goal of my
So it's
podcast.
almost like you have a dual target audience because you have your guests who are
Yes,
already here and share their experience, but then you
yes,
have the listeners who might be in another country because now we're
yes,
all global and podcast, it's social media, it's global. Hopefully, most countries have access to that. And then
yes.
they might listen in and say, oh, yeah, so I could do it too because they did it.
Yes, yes.
That is
And I've
great.
also had feedback on people telling me that, I know your podcast is targeted towards immigrant entrepreneurs, but we are not immigrants, but we still get so many inputs from it, because people are still talking about resilience, hard work, grit, not giving up. So there's something for everybody, is what I would like to say. Like, I
Yeah.
know the podcast says immigrant women, but that's because I'm an immigrant woman entrepreneur in the US, and that's why I started it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like, people are welcome to listen to it, and there's something for everyone. And again, I also provide this platform for my guests to promote their businesses. If they are launching an offer, they're launching a book, they're starting a new program, I just want to help them
Mm.
promoting their business. So that's another thing I do on my podcast.
That's great. So that's why self promotion is so much more difficult than promoting others. Um,
Yes.
and so, because I'm having you as my guest today, now you can tell us, how do people find you? What's the best way to find you?
So you can find me on my website. It's jenningstechcorner.com. I'm on YouTube, Your American Dream. But all the ways to connect with me, you will find all the links on my website. And you can send me an email. It's Anisha, Anisha, at jenningstechcorner.com.
Okay, and we'll put that in the chat or in the comments after the podcast to make sure that
Thank you.
everyone has access to those links. That's
Yes.
great. So tell us more about how is your life today? How do you feel, and what do you anticipate? Like, what's your goals for your business and for your clients?
Um, so I was at a place where I was kind of in fear, paralyzed with fear that I just didn't know what is the next steps. And serendipity, God brought you to me, and I happened to interview you at that time where, and I'm sure you didn't know what I was going through when I was interviewing you.
That's right.
As I kept listening to you and I kept the conversation going, it was just, I felt by the end of it, I have to talk to you. I have to work with you. And I ended up, asking you, how do I work with you? I feel stuck. What do we do? And then I ended up working with you. You're like, the first thing is do the 5 sessions with me. We'll do the tapping and we go from there. And I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so thankful that you let me work with you, and you have helped me so much. So I'm definitely at a better place with regard to, my whole health and wellness, in the sense that I'm feeling a lot more better with where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only because of the support of my family, my husband, my community, people like you. So that's why that's my goal, that's my vision, is to be able to be there for other people who are struggling or who need help with either growing their business, promoting themselves, or even sharing their story, because sometimes sharing your story, you don't know what impact you're going to have on others. So just
Exactly.
coming on a platform and sharing your story can make a lot of difference. And my vision for our life is just to, how I was talking about the loneliness when you come here. My vision is to be able to visit my family as often as possible and build a life where our son can experience India and US, the best parts of both,
Mm.
and just having very like quality family time is my goal.
That's a beautiful vision. It almost reconciles one of your path in life could have been
Yeah.
stay in India, be close to the family, and then this other path that you found, which is come to the US and stay there and build your family here. But now your vision reconciles both, because if you can travel easily from one to the other, or
Yes.
travel your parents over there, it's you get the best of both worlds, basically.
Absolutely.
That
So
is
yes,
beautiful.
that's the goal with regard to my vocation, to be able to build my vocation in a way that helps me support my dream of, having quality family time with our families, basically.
Yeah, it's so important. So we talked a lot about community and about the things that happen in life, including meeting people, getting support from people, and that changes our life. Even the voice of a pilot on a plane, it's
Yes,
amazing.
indeed.
So maybe we can now segue into the third question, which is humanity. And what humanity means is really, what is the message you, Anisha, would love to share with the world? You know, you already do that through your work and your podcast, but when you have your podcast, you have guests, so that's
Yes,
their message.
yes.
Today, you're the guest, so you have this opportunity of sharing from your life experience. What are the things that, maybe just one thing or maybe three things that you think humans on this planet should embrace to make the world a better place?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for that question. Number one, I would say, do not judge people. You have no idea what someone is going through. Just because someone looks happy doesn't necessarily mean everything is going well with them. Just because someone is sad doesn't mean that, nothing is going well with them. So just don't judge a book by its cover.
Don't look at the appearance of
Just
things.
just be kind to everybody, say a kind word. If you're wherever you are, try to be helpful. And that I've always learned from my parents, because they've been like, they have modeled it to us. Basically, they've always helped people in need, even when they did not have the means to support someone, help someone. They've always helped someone. So I have seen that growing up, and there's no other It's very rewarding when you're able to help someone, and that help. And I remember this, my parents always said this: when you help, don't help expecting to get something in return. Just help because you can, because God has put you in that position to help someone else.
Mm.
And it always comes back. It always comes back through a different person. You'll be in a different situation, somebody else will help you. But don't have that expectation. Just help without expecting anything in return. And the last thing I would say is this: the phone. Don't be buried in it all the time. Like, put the phones away. Talk to your family. Don't always, like, if you're having family time, like, put your phone away. And when you're traveling, when you are with people, connect.
Mm.
That's what is missing. People are just buried in their phones, in virtual world, always, like, even if when you are having dinner, if you're at a restaurant, you'll see everybody is like just like this. So talk to people, make that connection, because you never know what one connection can do in your life, what somebody else may be going through, and maybe you just saying, hey, have a blessed day, might that might be the only thing they heard that might
Yes.
uplift spirits for the day. So just be kind and talk to people, connect with people. Phone, that's the challenge now, is everybody's buried in their phones, the social media, whatnot. And do not miss the human element, because that is what we were made for, and that's how we connect with people. So gadgets are great, but connections are greater.
What a beautiful message. So, in summary, do not judge,
Yes,
be kind, and say something nice, do something helpful without expecting anything in return. And
absolutely.
three, in order to do the first two, you need to put the phone down so that you have you put yourself as available for these opportunities to happen.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
again, we never know what we don't know. We
Yes,
might make a difference with just one word, one sentence, one smile. And we
yes,
have
indeed.
so much opportunity every day to do that.
Absolutely.
Get out of the door, put the phone down.
Yes.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Nisha, for your
Thank,
sharing today. That was great.
thank you. It was an honor to be here, and I truly adore you, and you're amazing. I love the work you're doing. So thank you again for having me on the show.
And I'm grateful for us meeting. Absolutely.